Who is Randy?
Don't bring anyone mother into this.
Your mom in the fucking stand!
Are you your thing that you said you're going to do with Odenkirk? Is it sketch related or no? Like
No, it is not. It
Okay.
is a limited series. I can't say too much about it.
Sure.
Shortly we'll be able to, but it's me and Bob and his brother Bill, who was a writer and producer on Mr. Show.
Dude, that show is unbelievable. Like, I do appreciate more now, removed from it. Like how fucking. I mean, we all watched sketch shows growing up, but that show was so different. And like the way you guys would tie things back together.
Mr. I thought you were talking about In Living Color. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Show. Yes.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was like, how the fuck are they doing this?
Oh, that was, one of the things. I mean, it's a pain in the ass and took us a lot of time. But and one of the things is, if you ever see us pulling out of a poster or a coffee mug or something that's a lame transition like that, it means we gave up after 2 days
of trying to figure
2 days going like, how do we get from the sketches, but the Mississippi Fun Bucks to the thingamajig, and like we spent 2 days.
Yeah,
and they were like, fuck it, just pull out of a goddamn poster
and just get out of it.
Move on. Let's get to.
How would you know when you felt like you found a good one, like a good, like transition or tie-in?
Well, sometimes they were just tiny ideas that we had. That we had no. They were like tiny little bits that we just didn't have we couldn't make bigger. We couldn't. We put everything up on the board. So the way it worked was Bob and I would meet for a month, and kind of informally we would just write to talk about ideas, write sketches, and then put all these things up on a board. Index cards, and then the all the other writers would come in, and we'd start, more seriously kind of attacking ideas, and then we would a lot of times kind of stumble upon an idea for what like an opening, and we'd separate things from filmed bits to live bits to little mini scenes that sometimes ended up being transitions. Either we'd cut them down or go, oh, this is a great way to transition. If we can figure out an intro to this, then we've got the outro and blah blah.
Sure.
And then you just put everything up on the board, and then you start putting things. You trying to get a feel for the show. Like, you don't want too many short bits in a row. You don't want too many film pieces. You don't want too many long pieces.
So you got to move this stuff around.
So you're moving stuff around, and then it occurs to you like, oh my God, this idea about the sausage thing would be a great link from this to this. We can just change it a little bit. And so, quite often that's how it would come about. And sometimes you'd have to just come up with a transition, and sometimes you did, sometimes you didn't.
Now, it feels like the kind of thing when you watch it that you go like, this seems like HBO did not get in your way.
Not at all.
So they were
not
just like,
at all. It was
good. That's pretty
cool. Early on, for HBO, and their whole thing was, we are trying to market ourselves as not being anything. You're not going to be able to see this anywhere else. You're not going to be able to see it on network. I don't know if there even other cable shit back then. Maybe Showtime.
Yeah,
Comedy
maybe.
Central wasn't even.
No. There was the Ha channel, but even that was kind of
Jeez.
corporate.
MTV.
But HBO is the fucking mountaintop. I mean, that was like.
And that there was the Chris Rock show, and what was it around there? It was like Tracy Ullman. And,
yes.
And there wasn't a ton of stuff, and so their whole thing was like, go. Do what you want to do. We only got one note in 4 years.
What?
We got one note that we had to take, and that was outside of they insisted that we add our names to the title. Originally, it was just Mr. Show, and we were kind of reluctant to put the with Bob and David, but they insisted on that. And then the only other thing that a note we had to take was there was a opening. I think it was an idea about how to make an artistic kid or something like that. Or anyway, the opening was like dream sequences or flashbacks, I should say, and it's I run over to the stage and I'm in like a 20s outfit, like a big raccoon fur coat, and Mary Lynn Rice Cub was like the mom, and I was my dad, and then she had a baby, and plastic baby doll, whatever. That was supposed to be me, and I'm like, oh, look at this little kid, look at this whippersnapper, oh, get you goo, and she's like, I think you like this baby more than me. I was like, I love this baby. Look at that. And she goes, fuck the baby, and throws the baby down. And that was the one line they said, you can't say fuck the baby.
Wow.
That was
Really?
it. In 4 years,
Wow, that's
you can't
pretty
say fuck the
incredible.
baby.
And were you guys? Was that one of those things where you felt like you wanted to fight over it, or were you
No,
like, okay,
absolutely no.
No.
We're like, okay,
Fuck
Okay,
the baby.
okay.
Yeah.
yeah. There might have been one thing like, really, can we not? What if we say this? Like, nope. And we were like, okay, that was
okay,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, 4 years.
That's
that was
pretty
our only
impressive.
note. Yeah.
That's pretty
Wow.
impressive. Yeah. Jesus.
Wow.
Just don't fuck these babies. That's basically it.
Yeah, baby
Yeah.
fucking. I get it.
But the other thing was, and they knew this as well. It's like, obviously, we're not saying have
no
intercourse with the baby. We're
Right,
saying,
right.
but
Got
they're
it.
like, no, not even. Don't bother arguing.
I loved that show. And Mary Lynn Rice Cub, buddy of ours, she's been on this
Yeah.
show a couple of times too.
Mary
So
Lynn's great.
fantastic.
She's
I
fantastic.
love
Very,
you
very
guys.
funny.
It was it was like, I think we just lucked out, Tom and I, getting to grow up watching you guys. Like, you're the class ahead of us. So I don't know.
Well,
It was so fucking great.
I'm
It is
always
great.
always thrilled, and it's a little kind of almost heartwarming in a way to know that we had that effect.
Oh,
and,
definitely,
that we
man.
had a kind of a positive influence on.
And just the golden age. Like, you guys, you could say shit. You could just say shit, and you're not. There's no threat of being canceled.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you say that in light of, so Bob and I reunited, as it were, for Netflix. We did With Bob and David, and there's this is so crazy to me. I mean, it's just absurd. But there was a sketch that we did that we were both really proud of. We really liked it, and it took us a long time to kind of. It probably went through about 11 drafts, and that's a lot. I mean.
Yeah.
Usually you'll have like 4 or 5, but this went through so many drafts before we kind of figured it out and got it right. But it was called Know Your Rights. And it was, at the time we wrote it, those kind of self-made YouTube things that were really popular. There were these guys, and they're really funny. The guys are like, okay, I am, a lot of them in Texas too. Okay, I am, right now, I am driving, and I have, I'm going to exercise my right to open carry, or whatever the fuck it is. And they film themselves, and they try to get in altercations with cops.
Right.
And so the idea was
Super
this
cool.
guy was doing it to know your rights. You if a cop pulls you over, you have this and this and this. And but the cop, who's black, is very accommodating and not. There it is. Yeah. So that's the. Are people watching this or listening to this?
Well, they're both. They're listening and what, but the ones who are watching are
Pull
seeing.
over then. Jesus Christ, pull over. So that there it is. New police brutality. So that sketch right there. And Keegan Michael Key, who's great, plays the cop, and he's black, and he's just very. The character's trying to bait him, and goes
Right.
further and further and further because he's trying to, prove this point, and the cop's just like, no, it's okay, you don't have to
Yeah.
close your window.
Yeah.
And so, like the 4th or 5th step in, he ends up donning blackface, going this'll do it.
Yeah.
And then he goes up, and the cop's like, what? He's totally cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Jay Johnston, his partner, who's white, comes in and is like, this the guy who's bothering you? And just pulls me out of the car, tasers me, and beats the shit out of me immediately. So there are like 4 levels to why the blackface is there. It's not
Right.
a guy. There's several points that are made in the entirety of the sketch, which is kind of I like to think a Mr. Show hallmark where we have levels to it. And
Yeah.
And Netflix, somebody wrote a letter,
Oh, boy.
somebody wrote an email, and Netflix pulled the entire episode.
No.
Wow.
It's
So
not. You can't if you go to Netflix and
So it used to be on.
Yeah, it used to be on. It was on for I don't know, and it was probably on for I don't know exactly, but I'm going to guess like several months, maybe even a year before anybody said something.
And the way that it's discussed is, well, he's wearing blackface, like not context, not what the sketch is about.
Yep.
It's like you have a guy in blackface.
Oh,
though.
dude, that is the
That's the hallmark of today.
yes,
is that
that's
people
the
just
thing
go,
that bothers me more than any other aspect of any of this shit is that people, supposedly intellectual people, are not interested in context for
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
They don't care. You said that word. You made that face.
Yeah.
You put on, blackface. You did this and that, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
They do not care about context.
It's insane. It's
Scary.
insane.
so anti-intellectual.
Yeah. Yes.
And well, the worst part is that like something like that, the worst part is when it's written about, because the way it's written will
Yeah.
always be like, and then David Cross wore blackface.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like,
it.
and then it'll be like in a sketch. And then you're like, I guess you're reading it. You're like, I guess the sketch is that it's funny that he's in blackface. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
that's how it'd
Yeah.
be written about.
No, there's no, and this, this also applies to, stand up or
Oh, for
an
sure.
interview you might have or something, and people take something out of context and they'll just run the passage and they won't, see that it's perhaps bookended by two different
Yeah.
ideas that come back around, and it's just Jesus. If you took most of my material,
Yeah.
I mean most, and took it out of context,
Type
I
it
mean
out.
I should be in prison.
Yeah.
That's why they're so great.
Yeah.
There's a few ones we've quoted.
Yeah, I mean,
Years.
there's but the thing is too, it's like the people who take it out of the context the most, I feel like, are actually intellectual people. They're people
Yes,
who are
that's why
like
that's why
academics.
the fact that it's anti-intellectual is so irritating and
Yeah.
and frustrating.
and with stand up too, like whenever it's whenever somebody's mad about a stand up bit, they never include really the fact that this is done in an arena, like a space where there is an unspoken agreement that we're all here for this.
Yeah.
I want to see
Yeah.
the funny guy say wild shit, and like, and
Yeah, it's
and
not a
I
fucking TED
and
Talk.
and like he's not gonna go, this part, this is sarcasm,
Or-
this is satire. Like,
exactly.
you ju-
Yep. And then the when people are then the people who are angry are then saying this is what he said, then they're starting to do your bit without and they don't have the skill or the
Right.
ability or
Yeah.
the intuitive ability to present a stand-up bit.
Of course.
And they're going to paraphrase things, and
Yeah.
they're just, and if you read a transcript of
Yeah.
stand-up, it's like, okay.
Also, there might be a reason why you chose to do a specific bit at minute 32.
Yeah.
Like maybe you bought some goodwill for the first 31
Yeah.
minutes, and you're like,
And maybe something's going to come around at
Yeah,
the end.
sure.
I mean, yeah, it's just, it's so infuriating.
When did
Yeah.
this happen?
yeah, I
How
had
long
no
ago?
idea about that.
I don't know. As I said, it was probably, I mean, it was several months and maybe a year.
Ago.
I mean, at least it had been up for at least a year, I would say,
Well,
if not longer.
I have faith that the tide is turning, especially with what happened with Dave Chappelle this time
Mhm.
around with Netflix, and they didn't cave. Did they cave?
They didn't cave. No. I mean, they said something, and then they were like, "Fuck, we handled that wrong." And then but the point is that they didn't allow people to say,
To cancel.
The mitigating factor here is, he has, they invested,
Yeah.
$50 million into him, and then
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
gets a shit ton of eyeballs, and
"Yeah,
I
yeah."
don't think Bob and David got nearly.
You guys got 44 million.
We got $49.5 million.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and it was all spent on that sketch.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You'd
now
think
you can't
they'd want
see
it up.
Now you can't see it.
So the only place you can see it is like on your hard drive. Is that what? Like this?
Well, I guess you pulled it up on YouTube, right?
Maybe
sure
So it
it
lives
exists.
somewhere. But is that? But that's not just a still, right? You can actually see the bit because they took the whole episode down.
Yeah, can you see that
That's
bit?
so
still?
They
weird.
took. I don't know. Do any of those play?
That's YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
Does it actually? Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah. So that, yeah, that's it. But they took the whole.
wow.
It's a good bit too. It's a. I mean, it's one of the better ones we did. I think.
We're definitely gonna save that for me.
Oh, it's premium too.
Oh, that's good.
YouTube Premium.
Oh.
When I was a kid, I would just dream of YouTube Premium. As a little boy.
Oh, you just watched a highlight from your mom's house. And if you want to see more, just watch one of these videos or highlights here and definitely subscribe here. That way you can be kept abreast of all the brand new. Yes, I said the word, Tom. Don't judge me with your eyes.
Try it out.